Wow, look what I found here this morning. Look at that. This must be spring. It must be. It's a really positive thing this morning. I walked to find those nice little flowers coming up and around. It's a good day. It's a good day again. But, I think I'm reading too much about the coronavirus. I mean, I don't want to be negative, but it kind of reminds me of this story that Sabina told me about, that she read in one of her Lenten meditations by Dr. Scott Stoner, a good friend and a psychologist as well. So Scott's talking about what's in your cup. I thought that's really a good way of looking at things. So we got a cup of coffee, let's say. Okay, we bump into somebody and oh my gosh, we spilled coffee. And if you put tea in there rather than coffee, well then you've been able to spill tea. So it's what's in the cup. So he said maybe that has to do with our emotions. If we have a lot of negative stuff in our cup and that spills out, then that's kind of negative. So it's what you put in your cup. And while I was thinking about that story, I thought about another one coming from a native tradition, and that is about the young boy asking his grandfather, how are we made? What are our emotions? What are these feelings that I have? And the grandfather says, well, you have two wolves inside of you, and they're struggle, and they fight a lot. One wolf is really negative and mean, and the other wolf is very kind and compassionate. And the little boy said, well, which wolf will win that fight? And the grandfather says, well, son, whichever wolf you feed will be the one that wins. So I think that also has to do with, what's in your cup. So how do we fill our cup up with positive things? Well, a lot has to do with who we hang around with, but then we don't have anybody to hang around except those people we're being isolated with or people we're at distance from and work. But we know that that's a good foundation of who our friends are. Who do we choose to be in relationship with? What are the movies we see? What are the things we read? Do we take time for ourselves each day? Do we pray? Do we ask for help along our journey? Those are some of the important things that we do to fill up our cup. And if our cup has got negative stuff in, then well, lo and behold, it spills out, and it spills out in a negative way. So I think that a lot about this as I get back here on Facebook and on the internet. What are those things that are filling up people's cups that are spilling out? So I think there's kind of a test that, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but it certainly has done me well. I've tried to share this with my friends. When we have something to say or to write on the internet, let's think about three things. Number one is this something that needs to be said? Does it need to be said? And secondly, do I need to say it? Am I the guy that's going to have to say it? And the third one is, does it need to be said now? So those three tests are, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said now? And does it need to be said now by me? So think about that as we go forward this week. I'm going to try to be a little bit more positive and try not to get too indulged in the coronavirus stuff, but I want to be safe, and I want to certainly keep Sabina safe. So I think that heightens my anxiety about the virus, is that if she was to get it, it's like a death sentence because of her illness. So that always spurs on my mind. But let us love one another. Let us keep social distance, wash our hands, and be smart and safe. God bless you as you go forth. Have a great week.